It's time for the second part of our lesson for the spoon and book sound spelling card. As you can see right here, we have the spoon card, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ways to spell spoon. The one that you'll see the most is double O, and that's why we're only studying those two right now. Double O for oo, spoon, and double O for book. Okay, so let's go ahead and review the words that we read last time for the spoon card. These three words we read last time in our last lesson. So let's go ahead and read it together. And two, food, boot. Okay, very good. So they all say ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, and let me make the cursor bigger. That way on your iPad, if you're looking at on an iPad, if you're looking at this lesson on an iPad, you can see the cursor. Um, Now, let's add two more words that have the ooh sound. So you might have to blend it and read it with your eyes, and then we'll say it out loud. Ready, and tooth, right? So let's see. You could say, oh, my tooth fell out. Okay, as you grow, your teeth fall out. Okay, next, and soon. Okay, soon we will have to go to bed. If it's late at night, you might say, soon we have to go to bed. Okay, so let's go over to this column for the book card. The book card words. Double O here says as in book. Let's read it. And look, good, shook. Okay, you can say, I got the present and I shook it to see if I can hear what was inside, right? That's the past tense of shake. You don't say, yesterday I shaked the present. No, you say, I shook. That's called an irregular verb. You don't just add ed at the end. Okay, so let's read two more words that have the sound for double O. So you'll read it with your eyes and then together. Foot, cook. Okay, very good. Now remember, if I'm going too fast or if you need more time to read these words or if you need to sound them out on your own carefully, go ahead and pause the video, and then when you're ready to continue, then you press play. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice our reading fluency. These three sentences we read the last time when I did the spoon and book card lesson, part 1. This will be part 2 on Class Dojo. Okay, ready? And the food is very good to eat. Okay, next. I go to my big room to sleep. Okay, next. I look to my left and right when I cross the street. Okay, and notice I paused a bit. Again, we talked about it last time, right? Sometimes you have to chunk the sentence. I guess you could say you chunk it in your mind, right? Because in a sentence you don't see these slashes, right? I look to my left and right, or maybe you can chunk it bigger. What about right here? Oops, sorry. I look to my left and right when I cross the street. Or you might chunk it like this. I look to my left and my right when I cross the street. Okay, so you can do that too. But in reality, there are no slashes there, so you have to pretend you see it. You break it up like this, chunk it. I look to my left and right when I cross the street. Okay, thank you. Now, before we read a story, A Room for Moose, I wanted to play the song just to remind us again about the sounds that we hear when we say the sounds for double O. Okay, so let me go ahead and press play.
Diagrams. And ooh. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound foot, foot. Cook, cook. Look, look. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound the same. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound the same. And ooh, ooh, moon, moon. Ooh, yeah. Food, food. Ooh, spoon, spoon. Ooh, broom, broom. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound the same. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound the same. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound the same. And ooh may look alike, but they don't sound the same. And book, foot, cook, look, moon, food, spoon, broom.
Okay, that was fun. Okay, those songs are fun. Now, let's go ahead and let's read our new decodable. So, with these decodables, we get to practice the sound spelling cards that I'm teaching you. And you'll see lots of words with double O and that will say or oo. And you might see some old spelling patterns like long vowels and consonant blends and digraphs like TCH and SH. Now, just remember that you also need to be reading books that are not decodables. For example, Kids A to Z. Please make sure you're reading Kids A to Z. You should be reading about 15 to 30 minutes of Kids A to Z. Those books are at your independent reading level. So they might be a bit easier or a bit more challenging depending on what level you are. Also, those other books, they're more challenging. They don't always follow a pattern, so you have to try hard to use your reading strategies and sounding out and blending and figuring out what words mean. Okay, here, these decodables are a little bit easier. Sometimes the text repeats, and so there's a difference between decodables and your independent reading. Okay, also, speaking of reading, after you read 15 to 30 minutes on Kids A to Z, then if you want to read more, you can, of course, read another Kids A to Z story, or you can go to Epic and read stories there. Those are the extra stories that you can read that you like and you can explore. So, again, reading is not just this decodable, it's Kids A to Z and also Epic. If you don't know your passwords or your login information, then you could send me a message. I guess ask your parents to send me a message asking for the information and passwords to get into Kids A to Z and to Class Dojo. Okay, I just wanted to remind you about that. It's very important. Uh, now, let's go ahead and begin. First of all, go ahead and browse by looking at the cover. What do you see? What do you notice? Tell yourself. I'll be looking at the cover too. Let's see. I read the title in my head with my eyes. Okay. Okay, since you're not here with me, I can't ask someone. I can't pick someone and say, tell me, what do you see? What do you notice? So I'll pretend that you're saying. So if I pick someone, I say, what do you notice? And they'll say, well, I noticed that there are animals and they look like they're happy and cheering because they're raising their hand and they're smiling. And this animal, he looks like a moose. I know, I think it's a moose because he has those antlers that look like a moose and he's got that big nose. So you would say, I think this might be a story about a moose. And then someone else might say, I agree with that person because in the title, I read the title and it says a room for moose. So this must be moose. And he needs a room? Interesting. I guess to clarify that, we'll have to read the story to find out what does that mean that he needs a room. Okay, and he looks proud. The way he's smiling, he looks like happy, a little bit proud of something he did well, maybe. And of course, the author by Kate Cochran. She's the one that wrote this story, illustrated by Nicola Anderson. She's the person who drew the pictures, and they're nice pictures, right? Very colorful and bright. So I can use adjectives, right? I can say the the little sheep is wearing a pink dress, and we can say the duck is wearing a little crown, okay, and the brown moose is wearing a black belt and some blue or cyan. Some people call that color cyan colored pants. Anyway, so let's keep going. Browsing, usually when you have a decodable, you can browse more than just the title, right? You would browse the title page. You might say, oh, I see lots of buildings. They look like little shops. I think they're all selling something. And he's like looking at them. You might even turn the page and look here. And if I asked you, what do you see? What do you notice? You might say, I see that the sheep is holding something like a scarf, and she might be trying to sell it because these shops look like businesses, right? So, so they all have like their own space, their own room. I wonder what you can predict from that. What would you predict for moose? Okay, so we'll continue and we'll find out why the title says a room for moose. But let's just go over the pictures and the sound spelling card patterns. Okay, so you can repeat after me. Igloo or igloo. Some people say igloo or igloo. Okay, then we have broom. And then we have, I think this is soot. Soot, that's the book card. When you burn something, it loses its shape and it just becomes like a pile of dust, and they call it soot, I believe. Okay, now sight words. Oh, here, let me see if I can zoom in also so you can see it nice and big. Oh. And then repeat after me. Another. Okay, you might say, that was good. Can I have another cookie? Okay, next, does. Okay, you can say, does she need a napkin to clean her hands? Okay, next, some. Can I have some crackers, please? Um, and so this one, some, S-O-M-E, that should say som, but we don't say som. It's oblanqui, it should say som, we say some. And it's not the same as S-U-M. S-U-M, some, is when you add two numbers, you get the sum, S-U-M. That's different. This some means like a little bit of something. Can I have some water? That means can I have a little bit of water? Okay, next, wash. This also doesn't follow the rules. That should say wash, but we don't say wash, we say wash. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the title again. A Room for Moose. And here we go. It was a cool day. Owl stood by his bookshop. There's the owl, and there. Oh, look, owl books. Hoot, hoot, it is a special day, owl hooted. There's ed, hooted, hooted. Just sounds like a D here. Ed, hooted. Soon Sheep joined Owl. I made this with my wool, said Sheep. Owl took a look. It is a good gift. Okay, I know that he's a kangaroo, and this is a big word. So I see the K and K, and this is a kangaroo. It starts with K. So this might say kangaroo. Remember, sometimes you can look at the beginning and use picture clues to figure out difficult words. Kangaroo. Oh, you can almost sound that out. Kangaroo. Ah, so now you know it says kangaroo. Okay, and let's read it again. Reread. Kangaroo hopped by with his big broom. I must wash the windows. I must sweep by noon. Okay, so he has to sweep by noon. Noon is another way of saying 12 o'clock. So when it's 12 o'clock, that's like in the middle of the day, right? Um, Next, take a look at the pictures. Did you notice there's the goose? Some people might say duck, but I think this might be a goose. And I see a G there, and I see double O. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Goose. Silent E, goose. Yes, because the book card wouldn't sound right. Gus. No, goose. Goose scooted out of her coop. I cooked some good food. I will make a sign for the roof too. Okay. Now, do we need to clarify what scooted means? Okay, Goose scooted out of her coop. Now, we see that she got out of her coop, so maybe scooted means to move. Goose moved out of her coop. If you get figured out that scooted means to move away or to move, then you're right. Goose scooted out of her coop. Sometimes people say, "Can you scoot out of the way?" That means, "Can you move out of the way?" Okay. Uh, so let's go ahead and reread this page for fluency now that we clarify what scooted means. Okay, ready and go. Goose scooted out of her coop. I cooked some good food. I will make a sign for the roof too. Now, I'm going to try to, let's see, I think I'm going to start to make each page bigger. Especially if you're looking at this on an iPad, or then if I make it nice and big, it'll look even bigger on your iPad. Even on your laptop, if you're using a laptop. Okay, take a look at the pictures. They seem to be carrying something and they're going somewhere. Where are they going? Okay, okay. We must be done by noon, said Sheep. We have wood, said Goose. Who has the tools? Owl does. Oh, that's what he's got here. He's got his tool belt. Now, we must be done by noon. Now, I need to clarify, did we read about what they're going to do? Let me go back. I must wash the windows. I must sweep by noon. I will make a sign for the roof. I think they're working on a project of some kind. And now they're going with their tools and wood, right? Are you making predictions? I know I am. You know what? Since I can't pick any of you to share with me right now, I will share my prediction so I can model for you. Because I predict that the animals are building another room for somebody, and the title said a room for moose. So maybe these animals are building a shop for Goose. That makes sense, doesn't it? So let's keep reading to find out if our prediction is correct. And I'm gonna make it nice and big for you guys here, the page. And take a look at the pictures. Okay, they're all looking that way. Who's that? Is that Moose's leg? And let's read it. They worked hard and were done by noon. Then they waited. Sorry. Clip, clop, clip, clop. He's here, said Owl. And we need to clarify. Clip, clop, clip, clop. What is that? What's a clip? What's a clop? Okay, now I do remember in class a long time ago we clarified words that when you say them sound like sounds. Like if you read the word pop, 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 then you know that that means it's the sound that something makes when it's pop, 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 pop. If you read something that says bang, bang, bang with exclamation marks like this, then you know that's the sound for a banging noise. So here, if we if we use that same strategy, we can figure out that clip clop is the sound I think that animals make when they have hooves, hard hooves. The hooves hit the ground and make that clip clop sound. Okay? So now that we clarified, I would like for us to reread so we can practice our reading fluency. Okay, ready and go. They worked hard and were done by noon. Then they waited. Clip clop. He's here, said Owl. think I think who's he? I think it's Moose. And yes, let me zoom in so you can see them. There's kangaroo, the sheep, owl, I guess Mr. Owl, Mrs. Sheep, Mrs. Goose. And look, my prediction was correct. They did prepare a room for him. And let's read the sign. I think Goose said that she was gonna make the sign and put it on the roof. But the roof is up here. She put it on the front wall. Okay, and the moose room. Nice. Oh, and look at the gifts. I think these are gifts for Moose. I think the let's see, the sheep made uh, her scarf out of her wool. The books came from one animal, and this I can't tell what that is. Even when I zoom in, I don't know. Is it fruits, vegetables? Is that corn? I'm not sure. Okay. Now, again, we looked at the picture clues. Now let's read to see if that's correct. Okay, and go. Welcome, Moose. We made a room for you. Moose looked. You see, ed, looked. Here, ed sounds like a T because we don't say looked or looked. We say looked. Moose looked. Thanks, he said. It's the best room for a moose. Wow, what a happy ending. Okay, now I think we all would agree that these animals are very, very good friends. They're very kind and considerate. How do I know? How do we know? Because they did all these nice things for him. They prepared a room and they brought him gifts. So that's how we know that these characters have good qualities. They have good uh, personalities. Okay? Now, this word, let me zoom in. Like teachable moment. Can I get this bigger? That's as big as I can get. This is a big word. One thing that we're gonna hopefully I'll get to study with you guys and teach you is when the word has more than one syllable, sometimes you can break it up between two consonants. L and C are consonants, so you can say the first syllable. I'm gonna clap it too. Well, and then this part. Come. Welcome. Oh, welcome, Moose. So that's a strategy you can use to break up a big word. If it's not a compound word, like hot dog, starfish, then you have to look for two consonants and break it up. Okay? And so, now that we clarified what we saw in the picture and we read the text, let's read it one more time for fluency so we can concentrate on the message in the story, what the details, right? And go. Welcome, Moose. We made a room for you. Moose looked. Thanks, he said. It's the best room for a moose. Now, remember how I say reading more than once helps your fluency? Did you hear how I sounded? I sounded very pleasant, right? Um, that's because I read it twice and maybe about two times or more, and I sound better and more fluent. And that's what I would like for you to do too. Remember, one thing you can do to practice reading this story on your own is to uh, pause the video, uh, turn the volume off, make the volume go all the way down, and then rewind the YouTube video, go back to the beginning of this story, and then press play with the mute on, no sound. And then just read the story on your own. And then you can wait for me to turn the page, or what you can do is, wait for me to turn the page and keep going. If I'm going too fast, pause it, and then you read it. Okay? So it will be like this. I'm gonna show you, okay? Let's pretend that you rewind it. Look, you're rewinding the YouTube video and you go, "Oh no, I went too far. Let me," and then you say, "Okay, press play." Doot. And it's playing, but there's no sound because you turned the sound down, all the way down. And this is what'll happen. So I'm whispering. So this means that if you turn the volume off, you can read it on your own, right? And then if the page turns, then what you do is press pause so it doesn't turn. And then when you're done, press play and wait for the page to turn, okay? So that's a little trick, okay? A little trick for you to reread the story on your own and not hear me, because you need to practice reading on your own, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, now, a lot of words here. Let's go ahead and reread our spelling words. Okay, ready? And bookshop. Look, that's a compound word. I see the word book and then shop. Bookshop. It's a shop that sells books. Next, broom. Cooked. Cool. Coop. Food. Goose. Oop, no, good. Goose. Now, just so you know, the word goose is capitalized in kangaroo because in this story, the name of goose would be Mrs. Goose, and the name for kangaroo would be Mr. Kangaroo. So in this story, it's their proper noun name, their special name. So that's why they capitalized it. Okay, next, hoot, kangaroo, look, moose, noon, roof, room, scooted. Okay, ooh, ooh, ooh. Now, who. Okay, and soon, stood, to, took, tool, wood. Now notice the words are being mixed up. The book card and the spoon card. This says and this says tool, So you just have to start memorizing it, right? If you say tool, I need a tool to build a house, then you say no, it's not book card, it's the spoon card. Ooh, tool. So that's why you need context clues. You need the clues in the sentence to help you. Okay, next, wood and wool. Okay, and then our sight words. Ready? Another, does, some, wash. Okay, so good job. Now, let me go ahead and leave you with these spelling words and sentences. Like always, I want you to pick 3 spelling words and use them in 3 sentences, okay? Most of you are following directions and writing your sentences with the spelling words. So I would say spelling words, 3 sentences. When it's sight words, it depending on the sight words. If there's 4, then 4 sentences. The point is you write a sentence for your sight words and your spelling words. For spelling words, it'll be 3. Now, um, if you're having trouble coming up with a sentence, you can use these and try to change it up. So instead of saying the food is very good to eat, you can say the food is not good at all, right? You can change it, okay? Or you can say mango is very good to eat. Just change it up if you can. Here, if you're having trouble coming up with the sentence, you can use mine here and just try to change some words. So instead of saying I go to my big room to sleep, you could say I go to my little room to play, or I go to my little room to hide. Just be creative if you can't come up with your own sentences up here, okay? And finally, I look to my left and right when I cross the street. This one you could say I look to my mom when she calls my name. Do you see how I made my own sentence with a little help from me? Okay? So again, thank you so much for all the students who are following directions. When you watch these videos, I ask you to show me some work for sight words, sentences, and for spelling words, sentences too. Some students have taken pictures of them watching the video, but I need to also see you write the sentences, okay? That's the directions that I give you in the video, okay? So I look forward to looking at your work, and I'll see you on Class Dojo.